Tom leaned over the hood of a battered sedan, his grease-streaked hands moving deftly as he tightened a loose bolt. The faint scent of motor oil mingled with the humid air of the garage, a space that had seen better days but still bore the marks of its owner's dedication. Faded posters of classic cars adorned the walls, their edges curling slightly from years of exposure to heat and dust. Tools hung neatly on pegboards, each one meticulously organized, a testament to Tom's meticulous nature. At 38, Tom was no stranger to hard work. His garage, nestled in the heart of a sleepy Midwest town, had been his sanctuary for nearly 2 decades. It wasn't much, just a modest brick building with a rusted tin roof, but it was home, or at least it had been until recently. Business had slowed to a trickle, leaving Tom struggling to cover rent and keep the lights on. Still, he refused to give up. Cars were more than machines to him. They were puzzles waiting to be solved, stories waiting to be told. As he wiped his hands on a rag, Tom glanced at the clock hanging crookedly above the workbench. Nearly 6 o'clock. Another long day was drawing to a close, though day felt like a generous term these days. Between fixing clunkers for pennies and dealing with parts suppliers who demanded payment up front, Tom often found himself working late into the night just to stay afloat. Yet despite the stress, there was something comforting about the rhythmic hum of engines and the satisfying click of tools. In those moments, the weight of his struggles seemed just a little lighter. But tonight, something, or rather, someone, was about to disrupt the familiar rhythm of his world. The bell above the garage door jingled softly, signaling the arrival of a customer. Tom straightened, wiping his brow with the back of his hand. "Be right with you," he called out, setting aside his wrench. A man in his mid-40s stepped inside, pushing a wheelchair ahead of him. Seated in the chair was a young girl, her face lighting up as she took in the rows of tools and half-dismantled car parts scattered around the room. Her curly brown hair framed a cherubic face, and her wide blue eyes sparkled with curiosity. She couldn't have been more than 8 or 9 years old. "Hi," the man said, offering a tentative smile. "I'm Greg, Emily's uncle. Our car's been acting up, and I figured you might be able to take a look." Tom nodded, gesturing for them to follow him outside. As he inspected the vehicle, a dented station wagon that looked like it had seen better decades, he couldn't help but notice how animated Emily was. She peppered him with questions about carburetors, transmissions, and horsepower, her enthusiasm infectious. "You really know your stuff," Tom remarked, chuckling as he popped the hood. "Ever thought about becoming a mechanic?" Emily grinned, though there was a flicker of sadness in her expression. "I'd love to drive first," she said quietly, "but I can't." Her words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. Tom glanced at Greg, who gave a slight nod, confirming what Tom had already guessed. Emily wasn't just curious about cars. She dreamed of driving them. A dream made impossible by the wheelchair she relied on. For a moment, Tom didn't know what to say. He finished examining the engine, jotting down notes for repairs, but his mind kept drifting back to Emily's wistful tone. There was something undeniably heartbreaking about a child whose dreams seemed perpetually out of reach. "Well," Tom said finally, closing the hood with a decisive thud, "let me see what I can do about getting this heap running again. Shouldn't take too long." Greg thanked him and the two prepared to leave. But as they reached the doorway, Emily turned back, her voice hesitant yet brimming with hope. "Mr. Tom, do you think? Could you ever build a car that someone like me could drive?" Tom froze, caught off guard by the question. He stared at her, taking in the earnestness in her eyes, the way her small hands gripped the arms of her wheelchair. For most people, such a request would seem absurd, a pipe dream born of youthful imagination. But not for Tom. To him, every problem had a solution, every challenge an opportunity. "I don't know," he admitted slowly, scratching the back of his neck, "but if anyone could figure it out, I'd bet on me." Emily's face lit up, and for the first time that evening, Tom felt a spark of inspiration ignite within him. Little did he know, this chance encounter would set off a chain of events that would change not only his life but countless others as well. That night, as Tom locked up the garage and headed home, Emily's question lingered in his mind like a stubborn melody. Could he really build a car for someone like her? The more he thought about it, the more the idea took root, growing from a fleeting notion into something tangible. A challenge he couldn't ignore. Tom lived alone in a modest apartment above the garage, its walls adorned with photos of classic cars and trophies from local races he'd entered in his younger days. He flopped onto the worn couch, staring at the ceiling as he mulled over the logistics. Building a custom vehicle would be no small feat, especially given his limited resources. But the image of Emily's hopeful face kept surfacing, pushing aside doubts and fears. He grabbed a notepad from the coffee table and began sketching rough ideas. What if he modified a standard go-kart frame? It was lightweight, easy to maneuver, and could be adapted for hand controls. He scribbled notes furiously, jotting down potential solutions for steering, braking, and acceleration, all operated by hand rather than foot. By the time he finally set the pen down, the page was filled with diagrams and calculations. The first steps. The next morning, Tom arrived at the garage before sunrise, energized by the prospect of bringing his vision to life. He rummaged through piles of scrap metal and discarded parts, searching for anything that might prove useful. A rusted chassis here, a broken steering column there. It all seemed useless on its own, but together, it could become something extraordinary. Over the next few weeks, Tom threw himself into the project with relentless determination. Late nights blurred into early mornings as he tinkered with prototypes, testing and retesting every component. The first attempt at creating hand-operated pedals ended in failure when the makeshift levers snapped under pressure. Frustrated but undeterred, Tom redesigned the mechanism using stronger materials salvaged from an old truck. Despite setbacks, progress was steady. Slowly but surely, the skeleton of a car began to take shape, a hybrid of ingenuity and necessity. Tom knew it wouldn't win any beauty contests, but functionality mattered more than aesthetics. This wasn't about building a flashy sports car. It was about giving Emily a taste of freedom she'd never experienced before. Emily visited the garage regularly, eagerly checking on the progress of her car. Each time she arrived, her excitement was palpable, lighting up the dim space with her infectious energy. She peppered Tom with questions, fascinated by the mechanics behind his creations. "How does this part work?" she asked one afternoon, pointing to a complex array of gears and pulleys. Tom knelt beside her, explaining patiently. "This is the transmission system. It helps transfer power from the engine to the wheels. See how these gears mesh together? That's what makes the car move." Emily nodded intently, absorbing every word. Their conversations weren't just educational, they forged a bond between them. To Emily, Tom wasn't just a mechanic. He was a hero who believed in her dreams when others might have dismissed them. And to Tom, Emily represented resilience and hope, a reminder of why he loved solving problems in the first place. One evening, as they sat side by side watching the sunset through the open garage door, Emily spoke softly. "Do you think I'll ever get to race?" Tom smiled, ruffling her hair affectionately. "Not only will you race, kiddo, but I reckon you'll leave everyone else in the dust." Her laughter echoed through the garage, filling Tom with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. But as the weeks turned into months, reality began to weigh heavily on Tom. While the car was coming along nicely, the financial strain of the project was becoming unsustainable. Parts were expensive, even when scavenged or repurposed, and the dwindling income from his regular repairs barely covered rent. He started skipping meals to save money, pouring every spare cent into the build. Greg noticed the toll it was taking. One day, as he dropped off supplies for the car, he pulled Tom aside. "You've done so much already," Greg said earnestly. "No one expects you to bankrupt yourself for this. Maybe we should look into funding options, grants or donations, something to ease the burden." Tom shook his head firmly. "I made a promise to Emily. If I can't keep that, then what am I doing all this for?" Still, the stress gnawed at him. There were nights when doubt crept in, whispering that he was biting off more than he could chew. Yet each time he considered giving up, he remembered Emily's unwavering faith in him. She believed he could do the impossible, and that belief fueled his resolve. Word of Tom's endeavor spread quietly through the town. Neighbors who had once written him off as just another struggling mechanic now saw him in a new light. One day, a retired engineer named Harold stopped by the garage, offering to lend his expertise. "I heard about your project," Harold said gruffly, though his eyes twinkled with admiration. "Thought you might need some help with the safety specs." Others followed suit. A local painter volunteered to give the car a vibrant coat of paint, while a hardware store owner donated tools and materials. Even strangers chipped in, leaving cash tips tucked under the windshield wiper of Tom's beat-up truck. These acts of kindness reminded Tom that communities are built not on wealth or status, but on shared humanity. With renewed vigor, Tom pushed forward, knowing he wasn't alone in this journey. Together, they were crafting not just a car, but a symbol of hope and possibility. As autumn gave way to winter, the air grew colder, but the warmth in Tom's garage only seemed to intensify. With Harold's guidance on safety features and input from others in the community, the car was nearing completion. What had started as a patchwork of salvaged parts was now transforming into something remarkable. A sleek, compact vehicle designed specifically for Emily. Tom spent countless hours refining every detail. He installed a custom hand-controlled throttle and brake system, ensuring smooth operation with minimal effort. The steering wheel was modified to accommodate her smaller frame, while padded supports provided stability during turns. Even the seat was tailored for comfort, with adjustable straps to secure her safely in place. Despite the progress, there were moments when exhaustion threatened to overwhelm him. Late one night, after yet another failed test run, Tom slumped against the workbench, his head in his hands. The engine had sputtered and died mid-drive, leaving him questioning whether he'd ever get it right. "Still working on that thing?" came a voice from the doorway. Tom looked up to see Greg standing there, holding 2 steaming cups of coffee. "Yeah," Tom muttered, rubbing his temples. "But I'm starting to think maybe this is too big for me." Greg handed him a cup and leaned against the doorframe. "You've come farther than anyone thought possible. Don't give up now. Not when you're so close." Tom sighed, taking a sip of the hot liquid. "It's not just about finishing it anymore. It's about making sure it's perfect for her." Greg nodded knowingly. "Emily doesn't need perfection, Tom. She needs hope, and you've already given her that." Those words lingered in Tom's mind long after Greg left. Hope, that's what this project was really about. Not just for Emily, but for everyone who dared to believe in the impossible. Finally, after months of relentless effort, the day arrived. The car sat gleaming under the fluorescent lights of the garage, its vibrant blue paint catching every glint of sunshine streaming through the windows. Decorative flames adorned the sides, hand-painted by a local artist at Emily's request. A small plaque on the dashboard read, "For Emily, wherever your dreams take you." Tom stepped back, admiring his handiwork. For all its imperfections, it was a masterpiece born of grit, determination, and love. Now it was time to show Emily. That afternoon, Greg wheeled Emily into the garage, her eyes widening in awe as she took in the sight before her. Is that mine?" she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "All yours," Tom said, smiling warmly. "Wanna give it a spin?" Emily nodded eagerly, and with Greg's help, she transferred into the driver's seat. Tom knelt beside her, explaining how each control worked. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the steering wheel, but her smile never faltered. "Ready?" Tom asked, giving her an encouraging nod. "Ready," Emily replied, her voice brimming with excitement. With a gentle push of the throttle, the car roared to life and rolled smoothly out of the garage. Emily navigated a makeshift track set up in the parking lot, her laughter echoing through the crisp winter air. Townsfolk gathered around, cheering her on as she completed lap after flawless lap. For the first time in years, Emily felt truly free. Just as the celebration reached its peak, a sleek black luxury car pulled up outside the garage. Out stepped Marcus Reed, a billionaire entrepreneur known for his investments in cutting-edge technology and humanitarian projects. dressed impeccably in a tailored suit. He surveyed the scene with quiet curiosity. "Mr. Tom Harris?" Marcus asked, approaching the group. "That's me," Tom replied, wiping grease-stained hands on his jeans. "What can I do for you?" "I've heard quite a bit about you," Marcus said, extending a hand. "About the incredible work you've done here. Mind if we talk?" Intrigued but wary, Tom excused himself and led Marcus inside the garage. They sat amidst tools and half-finished projects, the contrast between their worlds stark yet oddly fitting. "I'll cut to the chase," Marcus began. "Your creation, it's extraordinary. More than just a car. It's a solution to a problem millions face worldwide. Adaptive vehicles like this could change lives, but they're rarely accessible due to cost or lack of innovation. You've cracked the code." Tom frowned, unsure where this was going. "I appreciate the praise, but I'm just a mechanic trying to help a little girl." "And that's exactly why I'm here," Marcus replied earnestly. "Imagine scaling this, building adaptive vehicles for people across the globe. I want to fund your work, turn this garage into a hub for innovation. Together, we could make mobility accessible to everyone." Tom stared at him, stunned. The offer was tempting but also overwhelming. Could he handle such responsibility? Would it mean sacrificing the simplicity he cherished? "You don't have to decide now," Marcus added gently. "Just think about it. People like you are rare, Tom. Visionaries who see beyond limitations. Let me help you amplify that vision." Over the next few days, Tom wrestled with the decision. On one hand, accepting Marcus's offer meant stepping far outside his comfort zone. On the other, it represented an opportunity to expand his impact, to help not just Emily, but countless others like her. Emily eventually overheard fragments of the conversation and confronted Tom. "You should do it," she said firmly. "You helped me, and now you can help so many more. That's what heroes do. They keep going, even when it's hard." Her words struck a chord deep within him. Heroes weren't defined by grand gestures. They were defined by their willingness to rise above fear and doubt. And perhaps, in his own way, Tom had been a hero all along. Tom stood outside the garage early one morning, watching as the first rays of sunlight spilled over the horizon. The quiet stillness of dawn mirrored the calm resolve settling within him. After days of deliberation and Emily's unwavering encouragement, he had made his decision. He would accept Marcus Reed's offer, not because it promised fame or fortune, but because it aligned with the mission that had driven him from the start, to make a difference. That afternoon, Tom met Marcus at a nearby cafe to discuss the details. Over coffee, they sketched out plans for transforming the modest garage into a state-of-the-art facility dedicated to designing and building adaptive vehicles. Marcus proposed hiring engineers, designers, and technicians who shared Tom's passion for innovation and accessibility. He also suggested partnering with organizations that supported individuals with disabilities, ensuring their needs were prioritized in every project. "It's not just about creating products," Marcus emphasized. "It's about empowering people. You've already proven you can do that. Now let's scale it." Tom nodded slowly, feeling both excited and daunted by the scope of what lay ahead. "I'll need help navigating all this," he admitted. "I'm used to working alone." "You won't be alone anymore," Marcus assured him. "Think of me as your partner in finance, logistics, whatever you need. Your job is to focus on what you do best, solving problems and inspiring others." By the end of their meeting, Tom felt a renewed sense of purpose. For so long, he'd carried the weight of his struggles alone. Now, for the first time, he had allies, people who believed in his vision and were willing to invest in its success. The transformation began almost immediately. Within weeks, construction crews arrived to renovate the space, expanding the workshop and adding offices, design labs, and testing areas. Modern equipment replaced outdated tools, and high-tech machinery hummed alongside the familiar clang of wrenches and hammers. Despite the upgrades, Tom insisted on keeping certain elements intact: the faded posters of classic cars, the scuffed workbenches, the faint smell of motor oil, all reminders of where it all began. As word spread about the initiative, applications poured in from talented professionals eager to join the team. Among them was Dr. Elena Rivera, a biomechanical engineer specializing in assistive technologies. Her expertise proved invaluable, particularly when it came to integrating advanced sensors and AI-driven systems into the vehicles. Another key addition was Mia Chan, a marketing strategist with a background in social impact campaigns. Together, they formed a dynamic team united by a shared goal: to revolutionize mobility for underserved communities. Tom watched the changes unfold with a mix of pride and nostalgia. It wasn't easy letting go of the solitary life he'd built, but seeing the enthusiasm of his new colleagues reminded him why he'd started this journey in the first place. They weren't just building cars, they were building futures. Meanwhile, Emily became an integral part of the project. With her permission, Tom and Marcus decided to feature her story prominently in promotional materials, highlighting how adaptive vehicles could transform lives. Emily embraced the role with characteristic enthusiasm, speaking at events and sharing her experiences with audiences across the country. "I never thought I'd get to drive," she told a crowd during one such event. "But thanks to Tom and everyone here, I learned that dreams can come true, even the ones that seem impossible." Her words resonated deeply, drawing attention to the cause and attracting additional funding from donors inspired by her courage. Emily also worked closely with the design team, offering insights based on her own experiences. Her feedback led to significant improvements, such as adjustable seating positions and customizable control layouts tailored to individual users' needs. Through it all, her bond with Tom only grew stronger. She often visited the garage, sitting beside him as he tinkered with prototypes or brainstormed ideas with the team. To her, Tom wasn't just a mentor. He was family, a constant source of support and inspiration. As production ramped up, stories like Emily's began emerging from around the world. Veterans injured in combat regained independence through hand-controlled trucks designed for off-road adventures. Elderly drivers rediscovered freedom with vehicles equipped with voice-activated navigation systems. Parents of children with disabilities marveled at how custom-built carts allowed their kids to play alongside peers without limitations. Each success story reinforced Tom's belief in the power of collective effort. What had once been a personal mission had evolved into a global movement, touching lives in ways he'd never imagined. And yet, despite the accolades and recognition, Tom remained grounded. "This isn't about me," he often said during interviews. "It's about the people we're helping, their resilience, their determination, their refusal to let anything hold them back." One evening, several months after the launch of the initiative, Tom found himself standing in the newly renovated showroom. Rows of gleaming adaptive vehicles lined the floor, each one a testament to countless hours of collaboration and creativity. Employees bustled about, preparing for an upcoming charity gala, celebrating the program's achievements. Tom wandered over to a corner of the room where a single framed photograph hung on the wall. It depicted Emily behind the wheel of her custom car, laughing as she sped down the makeshift track. Beneath it was an inscription: "To Mr. Tom, thank you for believing in me." He smiled softly, memories flooding back. From the moment Emily asked if he could build a car she could drive, his life had taken an unexpected turn. One filled with challenges, triumphs, and above all, connection. Marcus approached quietly, joining him in front of the photo. "You've done something remarkable here, Tom." Tom shook his head. "We've done something remarkable. None of this would have happened without Emily's dream or your support." Marcus clapped him on the shoulder. "And none of it would have happened without your heart. Don't forget that." Final scene, racing toward tomorrow. The charity gala was a resounding success, drawing celebrities, philanthropists, and media outlets alike. But the highlight of the evening came when Emily took center stage, addressing the crowd with poise beyond her years. "Before I met Tom, I thought my dream of driving was just that, a dream," she said, her voice steady and clear. "But he taught me that no dream is too big if you have someone who believes in you. And now, thanks to him and everyone here, more people than ever before are finding their own paths to freedom." Afterward, guests gathered outside to watch a demonstration race featuring several adaptive vehicles. As Emily zoomed past the finish line in her custom car, cheers erupted from the crowd. Standing nearby, Tom watched with tears in his eyes, knowing that this was only the beginning. In that moment, surrounded by laughter, applause, and the hum of engines, Tom realized that his legacy wasn't defined by the cars he built. It was defined by the lives he touched. And as long as there were people willing to dream, he knew there would always be roads waiting to be traveled.